I come to you in the name of Christ. I want to talk with you as we've continued. We're on our second part of the series called Born Low, Embracing the Poverty of Jesus. And as I'm thinking about it this week, I feel like I need to just back up a minute and think about poverty. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, we have a creation story that is antithetical to poverty. We have a creation story of a God who created a world of abundance, where all the creatures that live on that earth are provided for. God put polar bears up on the North Pole and the Arctic, where the seals would come and the fish would feed the seals and the seals would feed the polar bears. God didn't put tropical monkeys up on the Arctic. Notice that? God created a world of abundance where apple trees don't just make a dozen or 2 dozen or whatever you can get at the grocery store. Apple trees go crazy with apples, and oak trees go crazy with nuts, and you mow your lawn and you're like, gee whiz, that's a lot of walnuts, right? That's a lot of nuts. God didn't make this world for poverty. So what happened? What happened? Our Judeo-Christian tradition tells us that what happened is that we pulled away. I want what's mine. I want what I can get. I want more than what I need. I want to be like God. I want to be on the top of the hierarchy. I want to create a hierarchy. And somehow in that system of brokenness, it has perpetuated and perpetuated. And here we are in a world of groaning and longing for the coming of Messiah. We know poverty. We don't know it as well as some, and I want to just name that poverty, lived experience of poverty is like growing up on broken glass. The poverty is the lack of everything that God meant for us to have. Relationships, wholeness, belonging, food, shelter, you name it. Everything that God intends for us that is good is a part of what poverty means when it's taken away. And when we're little children, we learn what poverty feels like because suddenly what we expected in the goodness of the creation we were born into got pulled away. It was missing, it was lacking. Maybe we got taught that we couldn't feel what we really felt. It wasn't welcome, and so we pulled it in. Maybe we felt like we couldn't get what we wanted if we told the truth, but if we told a lie, we could get it. Howard Thurman, in his book about Jesus and the Disinherited, talks about those 3 things, 3 hounds of hell that rise up in poverty. And we talked about one last week, and that was fear. And this week we're thinking about deception. Because we're all deceivers, and part of deception is living in that brokenness and that need. And what we learn is if we deceive, we can get what we need. We start to manipulate and control and create illusions. And if you're living in poverty, it's almost like it's not even a moral imperative to tell the truth. It's an immoral imperative to simply survive. And so deception becomes a part of the whole system. For example, you're walking along and someone comes up to you and they're like, my car just broke down. I don't see a car, but my car just broke down and I need this money because I've got to get gas in my car. Do you even ask yourself, are they telling the truth or not? It doesn't matter, right? It's not a matter of verification. We just know that that need, whatever it is creating a narrative that will hopefully bring the money. Are you with me? Do you get what I'm talking about? And we all do this. We all grow up figuring out how to present in ways that will bring us the reward we want, whether it's true or not, whether we're really who we say we are or not. This is how we learn to live. Poverty is breaking us. The longing of our hearts and of the world is for tikkun olam, this Hebrew word that means the restoration of the world and the restoration of you and me to who we really are. So Jesus is born into poverty. Jesus is the only person I know who grew up in poverty and remained whole. The only person I know that I have never had to say, well, probably they had a really hard childhood, and that's why they act like that, right? You know how we do this. We excuse brokenness because we know it comes from poverty. It comes from places of hurt and wound. Jesus was born into a system that constantly extracted, a system of violence and pain, and yet he was whole. Well, he was God. Of course he was whole. But you know what else? Because he was God, because he was whole, he shows us how to live in the midst of our desolation. He shows us how to embody the very fact that I might present as a wolf, but I'm really a lamb. Or I might feel like I'm presenting as a lamb, but inside me is this raging wolf that is ready to explode on you when you cross me, right? He shows us how to become whole. And part of that wholeness is what Howard Thurman calls a complete and devastating sincerity. A complete and devastating sincerity. Whew, that's a high bar. That means for me to be whole, I have to be willing to look at the whole picture. I have to look inside myself at the wounds that I have experienced and name them and let God come in and heal them. It means that I'm not going to say, oh, I really like your hair, when I don't really mean it. Because why? What's inside of me that feels like I need to say something that isn't really true? What happens if we tell each other the real truth? Woo, right? Jesus told people the truth. Let's just do a quick review on all the truth he told. For one thing, he told the truth even when he was really young. Like, this is not something he grew into. This is something that he was, even when he was a little kid, even when he was living where his folks were so poor that when they went to make the offering for his birth, they had to give the least offering possible. They were poor. They were refugees. His mom was an unwed mother. They can check every box. Even when he was in the temple, remember that story where he goes to the temple and his parents think he's with them and he comes back? What's he say to them? Didn't you know I have to be in my Father's house? No, I'm sorry. Or, well, I lost you guys and I thought, well, I'd go back to the temple. And no, he just straight cut to the chase. I have to be in my Father's house. All the stories. The woman at the well, when Jesus talks to her and she says, well, I don't really have a husband. Well, actually you have 5 husbands and the person you're with now isn't your husband. Let's cut to the chase and tell the truth to each other. He did it all the time, and he said, you shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. Set you free. Set you free from the bondage of denying things, of lying things, of deceiving yourselves. All of that set free. So how do we do it? Jesus models 2 ways. One is silence. Silence is good. You don't have to say something if you don't feel you should. Remember when Jesus is in front of Pilate? And Pilate asks him the $20 million question, what is truth? Right? He's already answered that before in the Bible, right? I am the way, the truth, and the life. Does he say it to Pilate? No. He's silent. We can be silent. We don't have to always, there's judiciousness here. But clearly this devastating and complete truth is a guide for us. It's a call for us, for all of us, regardless of our circumstances, because we want to be whole. We want to live our lives in a way that we're contributing to the healing and the wholeness of the world. So, 3 ideas for you and for me. 1, be accountable. Because all of us have those places where we've got our private life and our public life, our private self and our public self. Look at them. How connected are they? Because wholeness means you're you, whether you're in public or you're in private. Are they together? And if they're not, try and name them and have somebody who you love, who loves you, who can trust, you can walk with and say, hey, I'm making some progress. And this is important for the shared wholeness of the world. Get an older friend and a younger friend. If all your friends are the same age as you, you are missing a treasure. Because having a friend older and a friend younger means you are together on a journey toward wholeness. And you can teach each other and you can lead each other. And finally, the third thing I would encourage you to do is lean in to the Holy Spirit. Because the Holy Spirit is what leads us and guides us into life. Those apostles in Thessalonians, they were trying to say to their church, we are 100% wholeheartedly trying to follow Jesus, and we want you to be a part of that with us. No deception, no lies. Let's just do this. The time is short, the call is high, the glory is great. My friends, Jesus modeled this truth for us, even though it killed him. Jesus modeled this truth for us so that he could empower us through the Holy Spirit and the resurrection to show us that what's on the other side of that truth is wholeness and joy and fullness and restoration. So as we wait for our Advent hope, for the second coming and for the coming into our hearts at Christmas, may we claim our truth. And let this Christmas be our first one or our 100th one in which we lean in to the truth of who we are and the love and power of Jesus Christ in us.